Hello and welcome to the Film School Snobs podcast. I'm Alexander Cepeda,
And I'm Jalen Michael.
and this is now our sixth episode. Jalen, how's everything going?
It's been going good. It's a pretty good weekend, good weather, so excited
Yeah,
to talk about some movies.
weather's been great. Movies have been really good.
Mm,
Let's jump right into it. Let's start off with Anna first.
okay.
So real quick,
Oh.
before we talk about Anna, you said, "Hey Alex, you want to go see this movie Anna with me?" I'm like, "Oh man, now I'm gonna have to rewatch those Annabelle movies." Well, not rewatch because I've never seen them. I'm like, "Oh man, I was like catch up." And I hear the first one's terrible. I hear the second one actually pretty good. And so I'm looking at the movie release schedule. And I'm like, hold on, Annabelle doesn't come out till next week. And then I realized, oh, you're talking about the Luc Besson movie Anna.
Mhm.
I got completely mixed up. I forgot that movie was coming out. Um,
Everybody
so
did.
yeah. So Jalen, what did you think of Anna?
Uh, well, I mean, I guess just from based on the box office performance, you could expect this is really just a average, mediocre movie. It's really generic. It's nothing to be taken out of from it, but I know you feel way differently about it, so I'll pass it off to you, Mr.
Yeah,
Alex.
I found this movie just really irritating to watch. Mainly because of like the structure of the movie, the way it's structured, with constant flashbacks, a lot of which just feels really unnecessary.
Mm,
I just found a lot of that got in the way of the story, which really wasn't all that interesting in the first place.
yeah.
Like if this movie was told linearly, then I would have just walked away saying, "Yeah, that was mediocre. I didn't care." But
Mm.
because they just cut it up so much and like with the structure and stuff, I walked away just getting really annoyed, really irritated. I could not stand this movie.
And, I mean, I get that completely because, yeah, the movie's not good at all. But I guess for me, it didn't really make me mad while watching it. It was just so generic. Like, you've seen this story plenty of times with Russian spies with what was it, Atomic Blonde, and I remember you telling me Red Sparrow.
Red Sparrow, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, and even like Black Widow's storyline, it's pretty much this
Hmm.
movie. But this
Yeah.
one, like you were saying, it tries to break it up with so many flashbacks to catch you off guard with so many twists and turns. But honestly, I saw them coming like immediately.
Hmm. And it's really interesting to compare these to like all these other spy movies that have been coming out lately, like Atomic Blonde and Red Sparrow,
Mhm.
because it's all somewhat the same movie over again. You get this spy movie with this really attractive woman as the lead,
Yeah,
and there's like all these twists and stuff, all a lot of which just makes the movie more confusing. Um,
exactly.
and yeah, just out of all of them that come out, like Atomic Blonde, I didn't like all that much except for that one stairway fight scene, which was
Oh yeah,
incredible.
I love that scene.
Red Sparrow, I thought was okay. What like it was like very similar to this movie, but instead like it had a message about fighting back against people who like abuse you and like use you
Right,
for their purposes.
right.
This movie, honestly, it felt somewhat misogynistic the way like Luc Besson like portrayed this character.
Yep.
Um, because like he all he wants her to do is like fight stuff and then have raunchy sex with these dudes,
Yeah,
which really felt unnecessary. Um,
highly unnecessary.
yeah, and like throughout the whole movie, she's talking about I want my freedom, I want my freedom, I want my freedom.
Mm.
Other than that, I didn't find anything compelling about her.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's where I was slightly disagree because, well, I won't say she was compelling, but I thought the actress
Mhm.
Sasha Luss, I liked her in here.
Oh, the actress was great. I think just the writing
Yeah,
doesn't do her
yeah,
great.
the character herself, it's pretty flat and one dimensional. But I thought the actress, like, she was able to like, you could really feel like how frustrated she was, just like how everyone was coming after her, trying to take advantage of her.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you were saying, she really just wants to fight for her freedom, but the writing doesn't really like do much justice to
Mm,
developing her, and that's unfortunate because I felt like once again the actress she was wasted in here.
agreed. And I don't know, because you and I were talking about this after the movie when we walked out. He tries to sue Christopher Nolan this movie, where like the different like jumping between like different time points.
Yeah,
But the difference between this movie and Nolan's movies is that Nolan knows like how to connect like things from different time points.
right,
This one, it felt like it was just thrown in there when it felt like the movie was getting really boring.
exactly. Like with Christopher Nolan movies, like uh, I'll use his most recent one with Dunkirk. Each time where they did like a different jump to a different point in time, each scene felt like it added value to the story. Like,
Hmm.
there's a reason why it's cutting back to show the foot soldiers to the people in the air to the civilians on the boats. This movie, they just want to throw that in just to throw you off and to have just the added twist factor. Like, it honestly, as much as I love the show Westworld, it reminded me of the second season where it's pretty much exactly what they did, where we're just gonna make it over convoluted so that we seem smart. And in
Yeah.
honesty, it's like it's pretty generic and average.
Hmm. What do you think of the action sequences in this movie? Because we get two big ones. What do
Yeah,
you think of them?
yeah, I thought the action was cool for the most part. I mean, both of them were in the trailer, so that's why I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get more. But
Hmm.
both of them, I think they're pretty entertaining. Uh, I didn't really like how there was a lot of quick cuts in a lot of them. Like I
Hmm.
felt like there should have been more wide shots, but overall, it was the fight scenes are entertaining. Both.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Like the choreography is really good.
Hmm.
But I just wish that a lot of like the camera work and the editing like was showed that off more. Whereas
Right.
like it's all like close ups and quick cuts. Whereas like I don't know, like if you look at something like Winter Soldier that uses a lot of quick cuts,
Yeah.
like they cut out to wide shots a lot. Or it's like same thing with the Bourne movies where they use a lot of quick
Right.
shots, but they know where to cut out to the wide shot, so you know
Exactly.
like what's going on. You can see like the full choreography.
Exactly. And I agree. And yeah, I don't know. I wrote it in the letterbox review, but I was like, I guess John Wick spoiled me, but yeah, I shouldn't have to put up with mediocrity, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
give it a pass on that.
Speaking of Letterbox, real quick, I recently convinced Jalen to get a Letterbox. He's now in love with it. Um,
Yeah.
Jalen, what's your Letterbox username?
Oh, honestly, I don't know. Yes, I do. It's J Mike. That's JAYMIKE 127. You can follow me on there. Look at my unnecessary list. I've gotten real carried away with it, so
Yeah,
follow me.
definitely. Um, so Anna, one of my least favorite movies of the year. Just it was a really annoying movie to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I get that. For me, it was just a big eh. Like the story was paced very weirdly, and it doesn't do anything interesting for the spy thriller genre. And
Mhm.
also, I think you talked about it when we left the theater, but the camera work for this movie was really weird. Like there was like a lot of cheeky zoom ins that were
Oh
so
yeah,
unnecessary. I was like, wow, what is this? I don't
yeah.
know. I don't watch a lot of Luc Besson movies, but is
Mhm.
that like his style to do or something? Or
I've seen Fifth Element and Valerian, his two sci-fi movies. I haven't seen any of his like more grounded action movies, and
yeah.
no, he usually doesn't zoom in at all, that I've noticed.
Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah,
this is awkward then.
yeah, I don't know. Just like with zooms, you have to be very careful because, like, from what I learned, like one of my high school classes on like video production and whatnot,
Hmm.
the human eye doesn't zoom. Like that's not something we naturally have.
Right,
And so like when it comes to, like dollies and pans and whatnot, like that's something we're more used to. If you just zoom in out of nowhere, like
right,
it's gonna take us out of the movie. And so you have to be like very careful when you use the zoom. Like
right.
a great filmmaker can use it and like have it have a great effect on the film.
Yeah.
This one, it's just like here's a zoom real quick and another zoom and a zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. Like,
Yeah,
bro, slow down.
right. Like I think Steven Soderbergh, like that's his signature style, but it fits into the tone of his movies where it's like very quirky and a bit surreal at times.
Mhm.
So I think the zoom works for that. But with this one, it took me out immediately. I was like, whoa, what do
Yeah.
we do? It feels amateurish,
Yeah.
honestly.
Even going back to like the Jason Bourne movies with Peter Greengrass, like he uses a lot of those zooms, but like
Hmm.
it fits in with like the style of the movie because they're all like
Right.
handheld camera shots. You know, it doesn't feel natural. You know,
Yeah,
it's not like the typical like hold it on a tripod, have the camera just sit there and record the whole thing.
exactly.
So I guess from there, let's move on to Toy Story 4.
Ooh.
Ladies and gentlemen, rejoice! Our Disney
Yay.
overlords who are buying everything, including you, someday Disney will own you, has given us a really great blockbuster in this slew of just mediocrity and terribleness.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to that point you said about soon Disney will own you, implying that they don't already. Because, I mean, like you said, this summer has been very mediocre for the most part.
Mhm.
And you look at all the movies that's been doing well this summer so far, or this year so far, it's been Disney. And you add Toy Story to that list because I really, really love this movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
Disney is literally stealing money out of your pocket, guys.
and I don't blame them.
Yeah,
But yeah, in this one, uh, we have it takes place what about 2 years after Toy Story 3? It said,
yeah, I'd say like 1 or 2 years.
So if you remember at the end of Toy Story 3, Andy finally was able to let go of his toys, pass them off to a little girl named Bonnie. Uh, and so when she's in her kindergarten orientation, she makes a new toy named Forky, who is pretty much made from trash, and he believes he's trash, doesn't think he deserves to live. And
Mm.
so when the family goes out for a RV vacation on a road trip, uh, Forky pretty much suicides himself and jumps out the RV, and now you have a new Toy Story adventure where Woody and the gang has to go rescue him and bring him
Mm.
back. And you know, me explaining it, it sounds like, oh, it's another typical Toy Story, but it's honestly it's not. Like, I yeah, it's one of my favorite ones in the franchise.
Yeah, no, this movie, it's everyone was saying don't make another Toy Story. Toy Story 3 was the perfect ending. They
Hmm.
went ahead and made another one, and a lot of people were against this movie at the jump.
Yeah,
I was kind of indifferent to it because I'm like, do I want another Toy Story? No,
yeah,
not really. Are they gonna make a terrible movie? Most likely, no.
yeah.
And I was, and yeah, they really knocked it out of the park with this one. This one had me almost crying over toys in a theater filled with kids.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like, uh, with all the Toy Story movies, I mean, Pixar in general, their target demographic is for children, but they're gonna make movies with mature themes so the whole family can enjoy.
Hmm.
And this one's no different. I really love just the themes overall with this movie about. Well, I don't want to really get into spoilers that much, but just the whole concept of being able to move on with your life and live for yourself. That's
Hmm.
something that actually like connects with me deeply because my little sob story. Well, not a sob story. I love my life, but yeah, I have a lot of brothers that I look after and take care of, and I often, or all the time, I put them over myself. And now
Hmm.
sometimes I sit back, it's like, oh, maybe I should probably live for myself someday, do something that I enjoy rather than living for them. And
Hmm.
yeah, this movie it really touches on such complex themes like that. It honestly, I don't understand how anybody could watch this and not think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, basically, the Toy Story series is about a bunch of plastic toys, like going through like all types of existential crises, questioning their place in the world. Because that's really what the Toy Story movies are about. It's like,
Yeah,
what's my purpose in the world? And a
right,
lot of the toys feel like their purpose is to help out Andy, help out all these little kids.
right.
And they go through the same motions here. It's like, what's my purpose here? And like, we shouldn't jump into spoilers too much just yet.
Yeah,
But that's what a lot of the toys just go through in this movie. They're trying to find out what their real purpose is. Should I be serving kids only? Should I do things for myself?
right.
And I love that the movie doesn't have like one definitive answer.
Hmm.
It's really just about it's up to the individual,
Right. And
and that's what I really appreciate about the movie.
and I agreed. And yeah, I was one of the people kind of skeptical about it, like you going into it, because I was like, well, I guess we don't need another Toy Story, but then again, we didn't need a Toy Story 3 either, and they ended it off perfectly.
Mm,
This was the one when the first trailer came out with the Forky character and he's screaming and all out. I was like, oh boy, we're gonna turn this into a Illumination movie. It seems like
mhm.
shut me up real quick because Forky, I think he's really amazing in this. He's a great character in
He's
here.
great. It's funny. I came home, right, and I told my mom, "Yeah, this movie's about a suicidal fork." And mom was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, a suicidal fork." And then I tell her, "Oh yeah, and this movie taught me I'm trash, and that's okay."
Pretty much, that's the whole life lesson you get. I think Forky's all our spirit animals, to be honest.
Yeah.
We're not worth it, but he's a real endearing character. He starts off, not really knowing what's his purpose, like why is he alive.
Mm,
The movie really doesn't make any attempts to answer that at all, uh, which I loved actually.
mm,
But as the film goes on and it progresses, yeah, he definitely becomes more endearing and just a lovable guy. You do sympathize with him greatly.
mm. And I'm talking about sympathy. I also thought the antagonist in the movie. I don't want to use the word villain
Yeah.
because that character is not villainous at all, really.
Mm,
But the antagonist is like just really sympathetic. I
yeah.
love their character arc where that goes.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess from there, do you want to start jumping into spoilers?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so this is your spoiler alert for Toy Story 4. Please go check it out. One of the best movies to come out this summer. Our Disney overlords did not
Yeah.
disappoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we are in the spoiler section. So the main villain is, well, antagonist. The main antagonist is a doll called Gabby Gabby,
Yep.
and she wants to take out Woody's voice box so she can be taken by a child someday and loved the same way that Woody is, like Buzz and all those other characters.
Hmm.
And I just love the way her story ends because she starts off, she wants this one kid. She has her heart set on this one kid. The kid
Right.
rejects her, like straight out, and it crushes her. But then she finds another kid who really needs her help. She helps that kid, and that's the part where like I really wanted to cry.
Yeah. Yeah, you do feel bad for her immediately. I mean, even before that scene, like you were saying, like just her whole motivation is I want to be loved by a kid just like for a while, just for
Mhm.
once. And so like what she believes is her one chance to be loved and it gets rejected automatically. It's like, oh, that hurts.
Yeah. And then you juxtapose that with Bo Peep, who's like kind of in a similar situation where she hasn't had a kid in a very long time,
Right.
and she's happy. She's glad to be a lost toy. She's with all her toy friends, and they're living their life.
Hmm.
And it's all about this movie. This movie's all about like these toys trying to find their purpose, and like there's not one singular answer to what that is,
Right.
because that's just how life is. One person's purpose may be I want to travel the world all by myself. The other person's purpose may be I want to have a family someday.
Exactly. It's all different in the eye of the beholder. And
Mhm.
each toy in this film, like you were saying, like they never really defined like or answered what their true purpose is. They just start exploring it.
Hmm.
And going back to Gabby Gabby, I really love this because with Pixar movies and a lot of Disney movies in general, they seem to be overly reliant on the surprise villain twist. Like
Hmm.
in a lot of their movies, like Incredibles 2, Coco, there's a whole bunch of them I could go on. But this one, they kind of like, it almost seems like they responded to that backlash and they flipped it where right out the gate, you assume Gabby Gabby to be very evil and malicious. And then as the film progresses, it turns it on its head. It's like, no, we can make her empathetic as well. And
Hmm.
it just goes to show like the type of care and detail they put into their films with not, expecting them to do the same thing over and over again. They're able to just knock it out the park each time. It's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's really great. I want to talk real quick about Woody and like where his character arc leads in this movie.
Mm.
So Jalen, real quick, what did you think of Woody?
Oh yeah, I mean, this was his movie. At first I was disappointed, like a bunch of characters were sidelined, like Jesse and Rex and all of them.
Hmm.
And but once you get to the end of the movie and you see what they were doing, it's like, oh, okay, this is really just setting off, capping off Woody's story. They gave him the Captain America ending, and
Yeah.
I loved it. It's that was a scene that actually made me well up a bit while watching it. It
Hmm.
was so good.
Yeah, it's interesting because Toy Story 3 ends off, and Bonnie now has Woody, and she's been in love with Woody since day one. But
Hmm.
in this movie, it shows like Bonnie does move on. She moves on to Jesse. Even
Yeah,
at the beginning, Dolly's the one who's in charge,
yeah,
and but Woody wants to be the one in charge. He's the one saying, "Okay, guys, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that," and Dolly has to
hmm
say, "Hold on, I'm the one in charge. Let me make the orders, okay?"
yeah,
And what he has like fulfilled his purpose. He's moved on to another kid, and things are all different. And by the end of the movie, he learns, well, as much as I love this kid, I should do something else with my life. I should do something else more meaningful.
yeah,
And I just really appreciated that arc.
yeah. It was perfect for him because I mean they kind of beat you over the head with it, but Woody was Andy's toy.
Mm,
And I've actually been seeing a lot of memes online showing hatred towards Bonnie,
mm,
um, especially because like the end of Toy Story 3, Andy's willing to pass it on to her, and she kind of just loses him. But that's the whole point. Like girls, they're not really gonna play with cowboy toys like that. So Woody's kind of obsolete in that sense, but he's able to come full circle and realize, well, my purpose was fulfilled. I should be able to live for myself now.
mm,
And that was actually why I said he got the Captain America ending because, Cap kind of goes through the same thing where I'm a man out of time. I've lived to serve for the greater good for everyone else. Now I'm going to do one kind of selfish thing for my own
mm.
sanity and retire.
Yeah, it's interesting too because when you look at Captain America's arc, and I love the way his arc ends. It's like everything because like he's someone who's like he always does the right thing. He always has to
Hmm.
do what's best for everyone.
Right.
And so, if honestly, if anyone deserves to be selfish just a little bit, it's Captain
Mm.
America, and
Oh
I'd say
yeah.
it's the same for Woody. And I just find it interesting because there was a lot of backlash to Captain America's to his ending,
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
yeah, and I thought that was just really stupid because we all want the happy ending for Cap, and like I said, like if you do that many good things in the world, you deserve to be a little selfish every now and then.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, talking about Cap and Woody too, like these dudes, they've put everything out for laid their life out for the good of everyone else. So they
Mhm.
100% deserve to be selfish. I don't see why
Exactly.
anybody's complaining about that.
Yeah.
But
I will say, my only real complaint with Toy Story 4 is that I wish Jesse had more to do in the movie.
yeah,
Mainly because like at the beginning they show that Bonnie would rather play with Jesse than with Woody,
right.
and then at the end of the movie Woody gives Jesse the sheriff badge,
Hmm.
and like that was a great moment. But I just wish Jesse like played a bigger role in the movie, so he could like pass on the torch to someone else.
Yeah, I could agree with that. They give her that one moment where she like actually, once Woody and Buzz are gone, she becomes like the de facto leader, and she punches a hole in the RV tire.
Hmm.
So they kind of showed her building up to that leadership role, but I do agree she should have had more scenes in here. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I felt like just the whole cast of characters they had, it was already a lot. With
Yeah.
you had Gabby, Forky, Ducky, and Bunny, who I
Mhm.
absolutely loved. Key
Oh,
and Peele.
they were the funniest part of the movie. Oh my
That
god,
whole,
they were great.
that whole running gag with their plush rush plan, pretty much being the same plan they got. It's perfect. But and also Duke Kaboom, also I loved a lot.
My man Keanu Reeves,
Yeah,
greatest man alive.
yeah, dude. I told you, man, he's not the greatest actor, but this dude, you just love him. He's like the best person there is. So yeah, I really enjoyed everything they did. But yeah, overall, the complaints I had with it, they're very minor, and it's just honestly like by the end of it all, I honestly didn't really feel any animosity toward it.
Mm,
Like the biggest thing I could say is like, well, do we really need this movie? And if you honestly answer, it's like, well, not really, but I'm really glad that we had it because it continues the themes off of the last one and goes really deep and further with it. So
mm.
yeah, this one it's right up there with Endgame for me as like my favorite movies of the year so far.
Yeah. And also one thing I love about the ending is like, during the credits, like they show that after Woody leaves Bonnie, his main goes to other toys, find
Yeah.
other kids. And it's like, Woody's goal has always been, make the kid happy.
Hmm.
And he's still doing that, but just in a different way.
Yeah.
So I
It,
thought that was a great ending.
it kind of flipped it, making the kid happy while also uh, making the toys happy. Because all those
Mhm.
toys at the carnival, like, they just want to be one. Like, I honestly, I felt so bad for them. Like, oh, these games are not designed for you guys to be taken home by kids. It's so unfair.
Yeah.
But
So how do you rank all four Toy Story movies?
ooh, yeah, I've been struggling with that this whole weekend, honestly. I know for a fact, and it hurts me to say because I love all four of them. Like, I think all four are just masterpieces now.
Hmm.
So I'll say the first one is probably on the bottom. Um, Toy Story 2, I love a lot, but that's probably going to be next up on the bottom. And then, yeah, probably 4, and then 3 is my favorite still.
Gotcha. Our ratings are basically the same, just flip four and two's place. Mine would be one, four, two, three.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see that. Toy Story 2 is amazing,
It's
honestly.
great.
I was trying to say that.
And it was like everything was working against it. It was like another Disney straight to DVD movie. Like
Mm,
it shouldn't have been special at all, but John Lasseter came in. It's like, no, this is my movie. I'm gonna make sure it gets the sequel it deserves.
yeah,
And they made something that's like just like really emotional, really heart wrenching. It has a lot of heart to it.
a whole lot. It's
Mhm.
crazy. Like, I mean, the first Toy Story, it's already such a deep and these characters are toys, but you explore them so much. To add on top of that with Toy Story 2 and introduce new characters on top of that, it's like, wow.
Mhm.
And then they keep doing it with 3 and 4 now. It's like, I want to say stop here, don't do anymore because it's perfect now. But I said that last time and the time
Mhm.
before that. So at this
Mhm.
point, just do whatever you want, guys. You deserve it.
Yep. Um, so yeah, so I guess from there, let's move on to our next discussion where we're just gonna talk about animated films over this past decade. Our favorite ones, we'll talk about like Pixar and DreamWorks and like every other company that's come out with animated movies. Um, so I guess just get the ball rolling.
Mm.
Which ones stand out to you the most, Jalen?
From the 2010s. Someone who, like I said earlier, I have a bunch of little brothers, so I'm forced to see a lot of animation movies every year. And very few actually do stand out to me, but the one that's been on repeat for the past year, and I guess this is kind of a cheeky answer because I'm pretty sure it's on your list also, but Into the Spider-Verse, man, this movie, it's not only one of the best animated films of all time, but it's just one of the best films, period. Just
Mhm.
the story, the characters, the emotion shown throughout the narrative of the story. It's great.
Yeah,
I have no complaints about that movie.
I'm a huge Spidey fan. By the way, keep an eye out for something coming soon, Spider-Man related. Um,
Ooh.
but yeah, I'm a huge Spidey fan. I wasn't when I heard about a Sony animated Spider-Man movie. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be garbage. This isn't gonna be so good. And that first trailer drops
Mm.
with those jaw-dropping visuals of like Miles Morales like make taking the leap of faith. I'm like, whoa. And I saw the movie and I was not disappointed. This was my favorite movie of last year personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, just everything about it, like the characters, the animation, the action scenes, the comedy, everything was just perfect. I
Oh, yeah.
don't have a single flaw with this movie. Like maybe I could nitpick a couple things, but other than that,
Mhm.
this movie is just an utter masterpiece.
Yeah. Like you were saying, like I honestly I don't have any complaints about it. Like when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, I wish we could have saw more Penny Parker and Spider-Man Noir. But honestly, you look at the whole, it's Miles' story, and they've done a perfect job of building up the character of Miles. And then something that a lot of people don't really see as important, but to me it is just the fact that Miles Morales is an Afro Latino kid. The
Mm,
whole theme of anybody could wear the mask. It's like it resonates with so much within me. It's like it's the perfect movie, the perfect feel good movie of 2018. So
mm. Yeah. Just like the one big thing about me with like Spider-Man and stuff is that, there's a lot I love about Peter Parker, the character, but then you look at Spider-Man as like a symbol. Because like
right,
when you look at any superhero, they're a symbol of something,
yeah,
of like heroism, of like courageousness, of like doing the right thing, good
hmm,
morality. And
right,
that's Spider-Man has always been about doing what's best, despite, how that's going to affect you personally.
exactly.
Um, and then so because of that, like Spider-Man's always been someone to look up to, and like that's what Spider-Verse gets done so well. Because you have Spider-Man, this universe's Spider-Man die within like the first 20 minutes.
Hmm.
And so Peter Parker, not Peter Parker, Miles Morales, he realizes that Spider-Man was such a hero, he was such an icon. I need to be that hero and icon for other people now.
Right.
That because with great power comes great responsibility.
Hmm. Yeah. It's this the themes overall. It's like it takes your conventional Spider-Man and what you know and love about Spider-Man, and it's able to just expand on it and flip its meaning and flip just the whole concept of what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man and just expand it to so many vast different meanings. I can't say enough good things about this movie.
Yeah. Since we're talking about animated movies, let's touch a bit on the animation in this movie, which is honestly some of the best like one of the most innovative animated movies come out ever
Oh yeah.
because they go all out with like the comic book visuals, like the weird
Hmm.
colors,
Yeah.
and even if you look at like the way each Spider-Man is designed or Spider-Person, I should say,
Yeah.
they're not all men,
Yeah.
but the
Equality.
way equality exactly. You should call them the X-woman, not the
Yeah.
X-man.
Oh Jesus. That movie that
um,
must not be named ever again.
But if you look at the way each one's animated, because you have Spider Gwen, Spider Man, and Miles Morales,
Hmm.
they're all animated the same way. But then you look at Spider Ham,
Yeah.
he's like a 2D animated movie from like Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Um, Penny Parker is an anime character,
Hmm.
and then you have Spider Man Noir, who's like draped in this black and white color. The wind's constantly blowing on him,
Is there
and
a
wherever I go, the wind follows.
Oh
Nicolas
man.
Cage is
Yeah, right.
perfection.
I love that dude. He was also Superman in the Teen Titans Go movie last year.
Yeah, he
That's
finally got
great.
to play the Superman role he was
Yeah,
born to play.
right. Good for him.
Yeah, but just like there's even like one shot in the movie where like they're all crawling on the wall at the same time,
Yeah.
And one of the animators was tweeting about it, and I think he said it took him like about a month or two to animate that entire shot,
Oh
and
wow.
it's just crazy the amount of dedication they put into it.
Yeah. I mean, they never cheap out with these animation movies. Like, I'm not sure what the budget was. I guess I could look it up real quick.
I
But
think it was around like 80 or 90 million, which is like way less than your like Pixar
yeah,
movie, like 150.
yeah. Like I believe the only other animated studio that can make a film for that much is Illumination, but their films kind of come out looking pretty cheap and bland.
Mhm.
Um, with this, it's like they definitely used it to the full extent, and yeah, just the whole 2D models and to 3D to make it look like a comic book page. It's perfect.
Yeah,
Wise choice.
and I just like I love a lot of like the camera work that's done like in the action scenes or just in general.
Yeah.
A lot of like the interactions of the human characters. Like they would film like the animators would film themselves like making a lot of like the facial expressions and the movements that the
Mhm.
characters do in the movie, and then they would use that as the basis to, like animate the characters off of, which is really great.
Right. Perfect, man.
Mhm. Well, since you picked Spider Verse, I'll go against the grain. I'll pick something else, even though I hold that movie close and dear to my heart. Um, I want to talk about the How to Train Your Dragon movies. Because man, you want to talk about like pulling at the heartstrings.
hmm
I just love those movies so much. Second one is probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh wow.
They're just like it's like the typical ET story of like this human meets this like fantastical mythical creature.
Mhm.
Toothless is basically a giant cat. Coming from someone who's not a cat person, I love Toothless. Toothless is just so great, so much fun. I want a pet dragon, even though it'll probably burn down my house.
Not a probably. It most definitely will, but
Oh yeah,
you could always rebuild.
yeah. Um, yeah, just especially if you look at like the flight sequences in those movies, they're incredibly animated. Like they never have like a shot where it's you're not like the way it's shot. It's like you're on the dragon with Hiccup or like with all these other characters. You
Mm.
get the point of view of like the people on the dragon, and it's like you're flying on the dragon with these characters, and it's just really great.
Oh wow. Well, if I could just make a quick confession here, and this is probably gonna uh, send a lot of hate to my way. I have yet to see a single How to Train Your Dragon movie, and I'm very ashamed because I hear such great things about them.
Ah, Jalen, you disappoint me.
Every time I try to watch one, it's like something always comes up, and then I always
Mm.
forget about them until the next one comes. I was like, oh yeah, I should watch it. I never do it, but this is the third one completes the trilogy, or they never hinted at that.
Yeah, the third one, like it's definite done ending.
Okay.
Unless they go the Toy Story 4 route where it's like, oh, but there's more.
Uh, well then, at this moment, then I guess I'll watch all three of them in succession. But
Mm.
yeah, I hear such great things about just the characters in this film and just how it's able to resonate at the emotional core with them.
Mm.
So, yeah. I mean, from how you describe it, it sounds great. So,
Yeah, even like just moving away from How to Train Dragons into like the Kung Fu Panda movies, like
mm,
the way they animate their movies, like they're like they seem like kids movies from like a surface level. Like when
yeah,
you really dig deep, they're these like epic action fantasy movies,
yeah,
which I love epic action fantasy. I just finished reading the First Law Trilogy. It's filled with like knights and swords and whatnot. I love all
right.
that stuff.
Okay.
Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
Skyrim. I love it all. And so, How to Train Your Dragon is like your Viking fantasy story with dragons. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have Kung Fu Panda, which is like your Chinese epic fantasy action movie with like a talking panda, a talking tiger, a snake, a mantis.
Yeah.
But the way they animate these action sequences are just absolutely incredible.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess I could speak on for Kung Fu Panda. Like those action sequences. Well, first off, the stories itself, it's what fills those sequences, and just the way they're animated, it really comes alive on screen, and you're really just invested into them.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's interesting because like they don't like, in terms of animation, like
Mm.
the animation in the first Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon like are great,
Yeah.
but like they tested out the waters in the first movie, and then for the sequels, like they always go above and beyond,
Yeah.
and it's that's what really adds like how great these movies are, like where they're not just kids movies, they're just really great movies on their own.
Right. And that's kind of interesting that you brought up DreamWorks because I mean they really used to be on top of the game. Like they were over the Disney animated movies for a while.
Mhm.
But I guess after I believe Fox bought them because Paramount had them for a while. So after Fox bought them, uh, they haven't really been putting out that many great hits. It seems like, aside from How to Train Your Dragons and the Kung Fu Panda movies.
Mhm. Yeah, because they had Home, which was I never watched actually. Boss Baby, which I never watched.
I
Just
hate
like
that movie.
they seem like the run of the mill like animated movies, and like
Yeah,
that's not what appeals to me.
yeah, and I mean, I think it was about 2 years ago they did Captain Underpants, which
Mhm.
it was cool. Just because I was a fan of the book when I was younger, but yeah, they don't really hold up to like their earlier works of what they've used to do. So it's a shame, but then again, they also did B movie back in the day, so
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
which became
second.
a huge meme.
Yeah, it's really just an average movie.
Yeah. So I guess let's each pick one more movie to talk about, and then we'll move on to what we watched this week.
Okay.
So Jalen, what's your next pick for another great animated movie?
Well, one of my favorite ones, which I'm surprised not a lot of more people are talking about now, um, came back, came out back in 2011, directed by Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson. Jackson is The Adventures of Tintin.
So great.
Yeah, I'm just a huge nerd for these Indiana Jones, Uncharted type films, and I mean, I guess while we wait for the Uncharted movie to come out next Christmas, just watch Tintin instead because
Mm.
it really just first off on the animation portion of it, the whole movie's filmed through motion capture, and that really allows for like more realistic body movements and to capture its facial expressions, especially during the action sequence. It's just like extremely impressive, just because how grand scale they are. But the overall mystery and the adventure aspect of it, it's what really I love watching this movie over and over again just for that adventure portion of it. And I really want a sequel anytime soon, but it's okay, guys. Take your time.
Yeah. I watched that movie for the first time like a year or two back, and I absolutely loved it.
Mm,
Just the act, like you said, the action sequences are absolutely incredible. It's like a big rollicking adventure. They had
yeah,
that one take sequence, which was
yeah,
amazing.
I love that. That's the one sequence why I watched the whole movie over and over again, is just to get to that portion.
Mhm. And yeah, just like Steven Spielberg is a great filmmaker. I love the majority of his films and the way he shoots his movies. Where like a lot of them are these like really long takes, and like
Yeah.
the surprising thing is you barely even notice it until like you start like really paying attention to like the filmmaking itself.
Hmm.
And so like he'll shoot a lot of things in just one take, and what an animation that just fits so perfectly because of like how fluidly you're able to move the camera.
Exactly. And I work at a library, so I was actually kind of surprised how big Tintin still is amongst kids. At least the graphic novels are.
Mhm.
So it's actually like really cool to see to take that 2D style from the comics rather than just going straight live action with it. Let's do 3D motion capture with it.
Mhm.
So
Even in Ready Player One, which
yeah.
is a movie I don't like.
Oh really?
Um, yeah, no, I'm not a fan. But if you look at like the opening action sequence and the final action sequence, like how incredible those are, and, all
Hmm.
because they're animated, like that adds a lot more. It's like what you can do.
Yeah.
It just really goes to show like Spielberg's talents with action and with animation.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, I was just taken aback. I thought you would like Ready Player One because I just think it's average, but
Yeah, no, I mean I wouldn't say it's like a terrible movie. It's like it's a little below average. But no, I did not enjoy that movie at all.
oh wow, that's actually really surprising for you. Huh. Learn something new.
Yeah. So how about you go through like a couple like a honorable mentions, and then we'll move on to my pick because I actually have thinking back, I have like a lot of honorable mentions about like
uh,
great animated movies.
all right, well, I don't want to step on your toes in case, but Lego Movie is one of my favorite ones. Isle of Dogs. I would have picked Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I'm just thinking that came out in 2009, so that doesn't qualify for this. But yeah, both Wes Anderson films. I love both the stop motion animation films. Yeah, I mean Shrek. No, never mind. I was gonna say Shrek 4, but I just remembered I hate that one. So yeah, no, and Zootopia is another one of my favorite ones to come out recently. So there's a lot of great animated movies this decade.
Yeah. So like real quick, running down a list for me. I'm just like, this is all coming off the top of my head. I'm like, oh man, I should talk about this one, that one, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Inside Out, Coco,
Oh, love it.
all emotional movies. Coco, I was sitting next to like this family, and I was like 18 years old, and I was getting ready to cry at the end. Like I could tell this mom was like staring at me, like, what's this man doing here, all by himself? Like, how? So I didn't want to cry in front of her.
She's like,
But
mind your
man,
business. I'm a critic.
but yeah, the ending of that just like nearly had
Yeah.
me in tears. By the way, great representation of Abuelitas when she throws the shoe at the dog. She's like, don't name a dog, they'll follow you around. Now go get my shoe."
Yeah, I had a feeling that was very accurate from
Oh,
the
very accurate.
various Latino mothers I've met in my lifetime.
Hmm.
That chancla
Um,
comes out.
oh yeah, definitely. You get scared of that thing. Um, what else? What else? Moana, which was like really
Yeah.
underrated.
Hmm.
I had another one in mind. I forgot what it was. Um, but yeah, no, all those movies really great. But the one I want to talk about, which did not get enough love, it bombed at the box office. Kubo and the Two Strings.
I had a
Once,
feeling you were going to say that one.
yeah, because like talking about like epic action fantasy.
Hmm.
Wow, that was just really incredible. Really, really well animated stop motion. A lot of great action sequences.
Yeah.
And once again, another animated movie with a lot of heart. Because you grow attached to this kid Kubo, and he loses his father and his mother. And there's just like a lot of emotions going through that movie, and I loved it.
And I actually I saw it when it first came out, but I actually fell asleep in the middle of it. So I had to wait. I don't know if it came out on Netflix that same year or it was the following year, but I watched the whole thing and yeah, I was just blown away. It's to like, why didn't I pay attention to this? This movie's great.
Yeah, it's a movie all about like losing people that you've loved, and like how like even though they're gone, that love is still with you.
Yeah,
Um, and that's just like a great message to be giving to kids.
yeah,
Because like unfortunately, there are a lot of kids out there who might be missing their mother or their father or both,
right.
and so watching something like this will most likely help them like cope through something like that.
Hmm.
Which I thought was great. Quick note. I'm not sure if I mentioned Inside Out, but quick note about that. I was actually like moving when that movie came out.
Okay.
I just moved to like another house, and so which meant I had to like transfer
Uh,
schools.
uh,
Which was something I like deeply related to because like
yeah.
when I went to my second high school, it was somewhat more difficult for me like making friends because I'm a very shy guy, and so like making friends and stuff was difficult. Which is like something that just plagued me throughout my last 2 years of high school. Now I'm in college and like things are a lot better.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's something I really connected to.
yeah, I can see that movie. With Raleigh's whole transfer, it's from Minnesota to where was it, San Francisco?
San
And
Francisco, yes.
yeah, so it's like it really makes you think about it on a superficial level, but then
Mm.
deeply how it connects to each emotion. It's like, wow, this is very complex, and I don't think I need to take psychology 101 now. I'll just watch this movie.
Yeah, it's a movie all about like you don't have to be happy all the time. It's
Yeah,
okay to be sad. That's like a normal emotion. It's
yeah,
okay to be angry
mm,
or disgusted or scared.
exactly.
Um, and if you just like try and suppress, because like a lot of what happens with the emotions as characters is like more metaphor.
Right.
And then it's all about like Riley and what she's going through. And like the whole metaphor is that if you try to be happy all the time, you're just
Mm,
forcing down all these emotions, and they're gonna burst out at the worst times.
exactly. You need to experience these emotions so that when you are truly happy, you actually know.
Mm.
But
So
yeah, I love that movie.
you're really great. One of my favorite Pixar movies, like probably like number two or three, behind The
Uh,
Incredibles.
oh yeah, Incredibles. That's a whole nother level of my favorites. But we don't have to get into that again.
Yeah. So I guess from there, let's move on to what we've seen this week. Jalen, I'm gonna let you start off first. What have you seen this week?
All right, well, I'll make it quick because it's been a pretty slow week for me. But I've just been rewatching Entourage again for like the 16th time, probably. Um, it's a show that gets a lot of hate because, understandably, it doesn't have the best writing or the best storytelling, but it's really just a movie about Hollywood and how Hollywood works. And I guess now, because through social media and how engaged uh, people are on their platforms with the general audience, we kind of have a bit of an understanding on how making a movie works. But for its time, when Entourage first came out back in 2004 or five, whatever, this is like the one way people knew, like, oh, so this is inside Hollywood. This is how movie trackings work, how stars react to box office performances. Um, it's one of the movies that it's one of the shows. I'm sorry, that it actually inspired me to like want to start screenwriting because it's like, wow, these people are real assholes, but it seems fun.
Hmm.
Um, right now I'm rewatching. I rewatched from season one. I'm on season three now, where you have Vince. He's making Aquaman, directed by James Cameron. Um, it's very like interesting, and actually they show little bits and clips of the movie itself, and it looks god awful. So it's like I don't understand how this would be the number one movie of all time, but we'll play along for the sake of the show. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fun show. I can't get enough of it, and it actually did have its movie back in 2015, which bombed. But
Mhm.
as a fan of the show, I love it. I understand people's complaints about it, but the way I see it, it's Sex in the City with dudes. So yeah, I love
It's
it.
it's interesting because I remember Mark Kermode. Do you listen to him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that review.
he hit on like a massive rant. He went on a rant about Sex and the City 2 and Entourage. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like one of those things where it's like he's known for his rants
Yeah.
and he's not like a hateful critic at all.
Yeah.
He's like very passionate about film. Like when he does see a movie he really despises. Like
Yeah.
he just goes on this rant. My favorite rant of his is Pirates of the Caribbean 3, where Simon is just like reading a newspaper and he's going on and on and on.
I actually didn't see that one. I'm gonna look that one up now.
Oh, it's so great. Um, but yeah, Entourage. Never seen it. I've heard a lot about it. It's just never been on my radar. So maybe I'll check it out someday.
Yeah, I mean, I if you're interested in how Hollywood works, which I know you are, it's one of those shows where it's just you can watch one episode and you'll get sucked into all eight seasons before it goes
Mhm.
bad.
Okay, so I guess from there we'll talk about what I've seen this week. Or let's change it up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. I have a movie I want to talk about, but I want to talk about a series of books.
Okay.
Because it's storytelling. That's what movies are all about, storytelling.
Mhm.
And you can experience stories from so many different things: video games, books, even music.
Yeah,
So I recently mentioned I was reading the First Law Trilogy. Jalen, have you heard of this series of books?
I actually haven't.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't hear about it until like a month or two ago. No, definitely 2 months ago. It took me 2 months to finish reading these books because I'm a slow reader. Um, so it's what's known as grimdark fantasy, which is like something you would classify Game of Thrones under,
Okay.
where it's like a epic fantasy series, like some really dark themes, like dark characters, and so I don't know how to tell you because it's kind of like Game of Thrones, where like there's a lot. Well, it's like Game of Thrones on a smaller scale, where there's a
Okay.
lot going on, and so like there's not just like one grand story. Um, so I'm going to try and summarize it the best I can without giving away spoilers.
Okay.
So you got this country called no, it's called Middleway, right?
Mhm.
Then above it you have the north, and below it you have Gurgle. And so basically it's all about like there's this wizard Bayaz, and I'll just say he has a plan for everything, like what's gonna go on at the end.
Right.
Which includes like a northerner, like the north is like basically filled with like a bunch of barbarians, like all these tribes and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, so he has a plan that involves the North, Gurkle, and Middle Land. Is it Middle Land or Middle Way? I don't remember. Um, but so yeah, his name is Bayaz. Um he gets Logan Ninefingers from the North, who's like a barbarian, and basically his whole gist is he's been fighting his entire life, and like all he's ever known is violence and battles, and he's just sick of it at this point. He
Mhm.
wants to move on. He wants to be more peaceful, but he knows because of like the stuff he's done in his past, he can never escape that. His character is definitely my favorite one in the series because it's just thought of him reconciling with like the mistakes he's made in the past and how he just has this uncontrollable urge for violence.
Right.
He was my favorite character in the series, which is really difficult to like to pick a favorite because like all three main characters. Well, there's a lot of main characters, but there's like mainly three characters that have a big part in the series,
Mhm.
which are all compelling. Then you have Giselle Dan Luther. Um, so basically, he's the spoiled rich kid,
Mhm.
um, and he's very cocky. He all he thinks about is like drinking and partying and like sleeping with girls and whatnot. And
Mhm.
he goes through your typical fantasy arc of like, learning to become a better person and like being the hero,
Right.
but there's a twist.
Okay.
And which I won't spoil, but like it's such an interesting perspective to look at. Um you have Sandan Glokta. He's this cripple, and there's this war with Gurkle that happened like a
Mhm.
couple years back, and he got taken prisoner for 2 years. He was tortured. They went through like the most crucial torture possible. Like when they describe some of the things that happened to him in the book, I'm like, geez, how do you survive like that? So he has to walk with a cane, and every little movement he has, he feels
Mhm.
pain.
Mm.
And so I would say he has like somewhat of an existential crisis, where it's just like this world we live in is a terrible, terrible place. There's no joy in this world,
Right.
and all I'm doing is furthering the fact that this world is a terrible place, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's the world I'm in, and I
Mhm.
have to do what I have to do to survive.
Right.
And his character was really interesting. Just like seeing, like that's where you get a lot of like the political maneuvering and torture. And so I thought that was really interesting. Then the final character that's like has like a big part to play is Pharaoh Malgin, who is like from Gurkle. And her whole thing is like she's been a Gurkish slave for her entire life, and she finally gets free, and all she wants is revenge.
Oh.
That's basically her whole character, but like it's done with like such a depth and like such great layering with her.
Yeah.
And like we are really sympathetic with her.
Yeah. I mean,
And
sorry to cut you off, real quick, but
mm,
that actually kind of reminded me of Danny for a second. Slave that gets free and then hell bent on revenge.
yeah.
It's interesting.
Um, So like, I guess the main things to take away from this book is that from the series of books, because it's 3 books, is that there's no hero.
Mm.
Even with like with Game of Thrones, filled this world filled with like terrible, terrible people, you still get your Jon Snow, your Ned Stark, your Tyrion Lannister.
Right.
To some extent, Daenerys, but they kind of like twist that at the end.
Okay.
Um, but no, these are all people. Even if they're trying to do good, by the end, like they just, I don't want to say they basically it gets upended, and it's like any good they tried to do just gets ruined.
Mm.
And so it's just like it's really interesting if you look at it like connected to like today's politics. Like this was
Yeah.
written in the mid 2000s or like around the time of Bush, and so I mean this was written by a British author. So but still like the world
Yeah.
wasn't the greatest place. We had some issues,
Yeah. To say the
and
least.
yeah, and so it's all about like these political maneuvers and like things you do to to stay within power,
Right.
um, and then like try and reconcile the past, but knowing you can never move back from that.
Mm.
I just think it's really a really interesting book to look at. I'm being kind of vague because like I don't want to spoil it because there's a lot of things happen in this book. I'm like, whoa, I did not see
Yeah.
that coming.
Yeah.
Especially with Baez because he seems like your typical Gandalf character, and they do really twist that and like they subvert your expectations to a certain extent.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, if you there's a book series you want to get into, definitely recommend that. I've been reading it for the past 2 months and I loved it. I thought it was great. First book is kind of slow because like it's just setting everything up, but then like
Mm.
the last 2 books are great.
Okay. What was the series called again?
The First Law Trilogy.
First Law Trilogy. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll check that out. See if I have it at my job.
Yeah, totally. And if you don't have it, I'll lend you the books.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I like the point you were saying, because I always like looking at art and relative as to when it was created.
Mhm.
Because you know how a lot of people they always feel that entertainment and real life politics should be kept separate, but at times you really just can't help it. That's what inspires these stories.
Mhm.
And thinking about it, if it was written in the mid 2000s and the way you're describing it, then yeah, even if it's written by a British guy, he probably could have had drew inspirations from the Bush administration and how Dick Cheney was moving political powers behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, and
All the
that's
maliciousness.
like I said, no spoilers, but I guess there is a character in here that's very much like Dick Cheney.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say right there because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's listening, or even for you, Jane, if you do end up reading it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, have you seen anything else this week?
Uh, hold on, let me check my notes here. Yeah, like I
Mhm.
said, it was a slow week, but oh yeah, John Favreau's Netflix show, The Chef Show.
I didn't
Pretty,
even know he had a show.
yeah, it kind of flew under my radar too, till Netflix recommended it for me. And it's actually funny because his movie The Chef, I believe they took it off Netflix a while ago, and some reason that's why Netflix recommended it to me. They remembered I used to watch it a lot, so I
Mhm.
don't know why they took it off on Netflix. But in any case, pretty much it's not it's loosely based on the movie. He pretty much just drives around in a food truck cooking food with various stars. Most of them are from the MCU. Like the first episode, he cooks with Gwyneth Paltrow. So another episode, he gets Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland and everyone. I only saw the first episode, but it was good. It's not like a show that I would like highly recommend. Like, oh, it's must watch TV, but it's pretty much it's a cooking show that has a lot of injected humor into it, and good chemistry through with John Favreau and his guest on there.
Mhm.
Which is obvious because he's worked with them for years now, so he would build up that chemistry. It's actually funny, Gwyneth Paltrow. I don't know if you've seen it on the internet circling, but there's a clip of John Favreau talking with her and saying, "Oh yeah, this is like when we were on the set of Spider-Man: Homecoming." And Gwyneth Paltrow, she's insistent, like, "I was never in Spider-Man. I was only in Avengers: Endgame, dude." It's like, no,
Oh, I think I might have seen that.
yeah, it's, she didn't know she was on Spider. It's you get cute stuff like that every now and then.
Mhm.
Um, and another thing, only with the first episode I've watched, but definitely just like the Chef movie, don't watch it on an empty stomach because you see the food they're cooking, you're gonna be starving for a while. It looks delicious. I believe the first dish they make is oh yeah, because it's Gwyneth Paltrow. They called it a pepper pot. It's pretty clever. They just put a whole bunch of spices in a soup. It looked delicious, and actually, I'm starving now, so just me thinking about it, my stomach's growling. But yeah, it's a good show. I'm gonna continue watching it throughout the summer. I believe it's only 8 episodes long, and it's like 30-minute runtime, so it's an easy watch, something just to watch throughout the week. It's fun. So,
Awesome.
a chef show.
From there, I'll talk about what I just saw today. So I went to the Museum of Moving Images where they're having like this event called See a Big Action, and they're showing a bunch of action movies. And so me, my mom, my little brother, and my cousin all decided, oh, let's meet up and go see Set It Off because that's something that my mom loved when it first came out because she's like a '90s kid. She was
Mhm.
born in the '80s, teenager in the '90s, and so like that was one of her movies growing up. Same way, like Marvel's one of our movies growing up because like that's something I had big in the when I was a teenager or in middle school.
Right.
So we all went to go see Set It Off, which I've seen before. Before today, I saw like the first 20 minutes of it, and then like the channel got changed at some point. It was like something that was on in the background, and I ended up stopped watching it. So we went to go see it today, directed by F. Gary Gray, who recently did Men in Black International, which was not
Yeah.
good, very
No.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Especially since like if you look at the behind the scenes stuff, real quick tangent.
Mhm.
The producer had a lot of the like he had the final cut of the movie.
Right.
And then then they had Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth who had their own dialogue writer, which
Oh
is
yeah, I read
really
that.
interesting.
Yeah, they're I've heard the producers very insistent on how the film it should be, and they're
Mm,
kind of pissed off at Gary Gray.
yeah, and like he wanted to like have a lot more topical discussion about like immigration,
Oh, Grayson, yeah,
which like he's definitely the guy for that considering Set It Off and Shit Out Compton where he
yeah,
does like have a lot of discussions about like like society and like social class
yeah,
and whatnot
yeah, good
and
social
like and race and
commentary.
stuff. Yeah,
And release
and
the
so
Gary Gray cut.
he does have an actual cut like of like the finished movie. I'm not sure if like all the special effects are done yet, but like he put in
Right.
his cut and the studio chose the producer's cut instead.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to Set It Off. This was like my first time seeing like the other part of the movie other than the first 20 minutes.
Hmm.
And I absolutely love this movie. Um,
Yay.
yeah, it's just absolutely just so much fun. You have Queen Latifah who steals the show.
Of course.
She brings so much energy to her role. Like her character gets a lot of laughs out of the theater I was in.
Mm,
Just like this movie has so much heart, which is like really important for a movie like this since you're following around these four characters. You get to feel the connection that they're all friends, and like that seems to be
Right.
like the main through line through like all the F. Gary Gray movies I've seen with Straight Compton and like Fate of the Furious Eight. They're all like they're really close friends, they're family,
Yeah.
and because of that, you really connect them. And when they are doing these like bank heists, you really understand like what they're going through, what led them to like make these decisions.
Mm.
Because the movie follows this group of four African American women who live in an impoverished neighborhood, and they all have stuff going on in their lives where like they really need help, financial help.
Right.
One of them recently got fired. Another one, she's trying to get her brother into college, and like another one has a child. And there's Queen Latifah there. She's having fun.
Mm.
Um, and of course, she definitely needs the money too, but like, she mostly does it for the thrill ride, for the fun. She's like the loose cannon of the group.
Yeah.
And so you really connect to these characters and you really understand what they're going through. And even the cop character who you think like by the end of the movie is just going to be proven to like be this like this white guy who just doesn't understand how it all is. And
Hmm.
by the end of the movie, he learns. Like he has like a mini character arc where he learns like he tries to be sympathetic with these guys, with these
Yeah.
ladies, and I thought that was great. I remember the ending when we got to the final act. I was sitting next to my cousin, and he's over to me. He's like, "Man, I haven't seen this movie in a while, and I don't remember what's gonna happen. I'm really stressed out." And that's really how you feel, going into the ending of this movie because, you've grown connected to all these characters. You don't want to see anything bad happen to them.
Yeah.
One of whom is a mother, and so she's a mother. Like you learn at the beginning of the movie, she's a mother, and so yeah, that's probably not going to work out so well.
Hmm.
And I guess spoiler alert, this movie's been out for a while. Have you seen it?
Yeah, a while ago, but
Yeah.
it's very blurry to me.
Oh, do you mind if I spoil it then?
And I do remember that certain person dies at the end of
Mhm.
it. That's like the big thing I remember.
Yeah. Um, so I guess I'll drop the spoiler. Like three out of the four main characters die by the
Yeah.
end of the movie, and each death is just really emotional because you've just grown attached to these characters so much.
Mm.
I think the one that the mother's death was like really great because like she has a child, and so you just really feel for her in that situation.
Mm.
Um, and like the way they handle her death is really great because like it's Jada Pinkett Smith holding the character as she's dying, and
Right.
F. Gary Gray pushes in for a close up of Jada Pinkett Smith's face,
Mm.
and so you don't see her die, but you can tell from her facial expression, like, wow, that just happened,
Yeah.
and it's just like you're really caught up in the emotions. And then the bank teller, the former bank teller, she got fired from her job at the beginning of the movie for not following protocol, and the cop says to her, "What are you supposed to do when you have a gun in your face? What's protocol?" Right?
Mm.
And he's like really villainizing her because like she knew the people who were robbing the bank, and which is like all kinds of messed up. And by the end of the movie, he's trying to be sympathetic, and he's like, I understand what you're going through, but put the gun down, don't do anything. And she puts the gun up to his neck, and she repeats what he said back to him, which was so powerful.
Yeah.
um so yeah, this is my first time watching it, or like watching it in its completion, and I loved it. This is definitely Gary Gray's best movie to come out. And I loved Fate of the Furious and Straight Outta Compton. Like this is my favorite one of his.
Yeah. Nice. That's interesting. I mean, just looking at his credentials, he had one of those quiet careers where you don't really realize like, oh, he directed that until you actually look at it.
Mhm.
But yeah, Set It Off. I remember I had it on DVD. At least my parents had it on DVD for a while, and they would occasionally watch it. And I remember the one time I would watch it, or the couple of times I watched it rather. Did you didn't drop the spoiler of who exactly died, right? I know you said
um
three.
yeah, well, I said the mother, and I
Oh,
said Banks. I was just like, yeah, I guess I did.
oh, oh. So you want? So yeah, I guess I'll say then. The one scene I remember is when Queen Latifah is like leading them on the police chase, and then gets out in a shootout with them, and then the ending of that. That's like the one thing I remember from this movie that stood out to me the most. But
Hmm.
and it's a great movie, yeah, from what I remember from it.
Yeah, it's really well written character drama, and like it's funny because I get out of the movie and I'm talking about it with my cousin and my mom, and my little brother, and my
Mm.
mom says like I feel like with a lot of like modern movies, like a lot of them won't take the time to develop these characters, get you attached to them,
Right.
and she's right to a certain extent because there's so many of them that just want to rush straight up to the action because they
Hmm.
think that's what people pay for. But in actuality, if you look at the most recent box office, a lot of people like they're not going to care unless you give them reason to care, and
Yeah.
well written stories, well written character drama, like that's what's gonna make people care.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, what also plays into it too, and here comes the anti-SJW fans, but having women of color lead, it opens up for strong new stories, unique stories to tell.
Mhm.
So, in fact, I actually did an article about this. I believe it was 2 semesters ago, where pretty much I wrote about diversity in Hollywood, and I was able to speak to a few professors who write scripts on sets and whatnot, and she linked me to the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, who they research the same topic about diversity. And from films that came out from 2007 to 2017, I believe the statistic was there were four women of color female leads in movies. No, I'm sorry, directed movies.
Mhm.
And then it's about 77% white male who led movies from 2000 to 2017. So you open up for diversity, you get more interesting stories to tell. So,
Exactly, and like you're able to connect to a lot more people,
mm,
because like you're telling stories that other people have gone through, that other
yeah,
people like they experienced in person, and so that's really the importance of diversity in film and stuff.
yeah,
And it's interesting too because we're talking about because the movie was projected in 35 millimeter when I saw it, and
oh,
me and my
wow.
cousin got out the theater and like we were talking about like film in general,
Mm,
and so he was talking about how the actual like 35 millimeter film
mm,
was it was like really difficult to pick up on darker skin for African Americans
mm,
because like it was originally made to shoot white people.
right,
And so when they shoot an African American in film, especially at the time, they
mm,
really have to like overlay the scene so you can pick up on their skin tones.
oh wow,
Yeah, and I just found that discussion really interesting. And like nowadays
yeah,
they fixed the problem. Like now you can shoot on film and still pick up on the skin tones of African Americans or like people
right.
of like of darker color skin. But I just found that really interesting.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting tidbit. And thank you for that. Honestly, I didn't even know that.
Mm. Well, you're welcome,
Pretty
Jalen.
good tip. That's actually like something I might actually research more now, write an article, or find something to include with that. But
Totally.
yeah, no, that's great. So, it's a great movie from what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Check it out. Wherever you can find it. So yeah. And do you have anything else you want to talk about real quick before we end the show?
No, those are the only things I saw this past week. Pretty
Awesome.
quiet.
So I guess this is where we're gonna end the show. Jalen, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, now that I'm finally not a ghost on social media, you guys could follow me on Letterboxd and Reddit at jmike127. Uh, if you just want to see me blab about movies and make very candid and unnecessary lists and arbitrary lists, follow me there on Letterboxd and Reddit.
Awesome. You can find me on Twitter, Jedi Master Alex, where I can teach you the ways of the Force. But not really. I can't master the Force. Um,
uh,
and then you can also find me.
unsubscribe.
Oh boy. And then you can find me on Letterboxd also. Look up my name, Alexander Zepeda, or look up Alex Da Movie Buff, DA, not THE. Um, you can find my reviews on there and all my list of like best movies of the year, favorite superhero movies, or whatever I feel like making lists out of.
Mm,
And you can also follow us on Instagram. We now have an Instagram page. We've had it for a while now, but we have one, the Film School Snobs. And email us at thefilmschoolsnobs@gmail.com if you have any comments or questions. Um, and yeah, that's been the show. Thanks for watching.
see you guys.